players, and let's just get right, that wants to play duos or squads, I think with your teammates. It will be really hard to get if you're not effectively communicating with your teammates. You got to make sure that you're calling, etc. A really good example of this is, let's say, if you both are in the same house, which I highly recommend, the bottom floor, you notice you can just tell your teammate that he's on the bottom floor. You can wait for your teammate, and you guys can take him out effectively and cooperatively. Teammates when you jump out of the bus. So let's say if you guys want to go to Retail Row, be sure that you land on the same exact house, because you want to make sure that, let's say if your teammate's getting shot upstairs, that you're downstairs. You can easily run upstairs and help your teammate out. You don't have to worry about being on the opposite side of the town where your teammate really needs you right now. So it's really effective that if you are playing duos and squads, to stick by your teammates in the same exact house. Okay guys, so the second tip I have for you is, if you're going to be landing, be sure that you land where you're comfortable. What I mean by this, don't land in a town where you see a ton of people. If you see a ton of players, I recommend you switch locations, because of the fact that since there's so many people there, there's going to be lower the chances of you getting a good gun and making it out alive. I highly recommend that if you're going into a town with a lot of people, that you kind of stay on the outskirts of the town. You maybe go into one house, check and get some guns, and just run away. Do not engage in people if there's a lot of players in the same town as you. I highly do not recommend that, because more than likely, even if you do get some kills, someone's going to kill you from behind because of all the players in that one town. I highly recommend, like I said, if you're going to these towns where there's a lot of people, just to go in and out. Go through one house that has not been checked by any other player, get the items in there, and just leave. And if you even are playing this, doing the strategy in duels and squads, just make sure that your squad is in that house, and then you just dip, because it's highly recommended that you not stay in the cities, especially when there's lots and lots of people. Alright, so the third tip I have for you guys is to use and know your environment. Knowing your environment can help you when you're in a life or death scenario where you need to hide behind cover and you're getting shot from behind. Hiding behind trees and hiding behind houses and stuff like that can really help you heal and stuff like that if you were to take damage from behind by other enemy players. It's really good to know your environment. And another good example is, let's say if the circle's pretty small, you've been in the game for a while, and you want to try to stay alive long, but you don't want to use any combat, using bushes and hiding in small houses or shacks and stuff like that can be really effective if you don't want to, shoot other players, but you want to try to get in the top 10. Using bushes, even hiding behind trees, can be a really good way for you to get into the top 10 without using any type of guns. Okay, so tip number 4 is pretty simple. You just want to know where the storm is. There's been several situations where me and my friends have simply just died by the storm because we were looting or fighting other enemy players, and we didn't realize where the storm was actually going. So knowing where the storm is actually going is really effective in whether you're going to live or die, because you don't want to loot a town that is not in the circle and you kill people. If you want to loot a town or anything like that, make sure that you're inside the circle and try not to waste any time trying to go after other enemy players unless you're in the circle. Okay, so tip number 5 is to use smart strategies. Don't engage in any gunfights unless you think you have the upper hand on your opponent. So let's say if you're falling behind people, that's a good time to use a strategy just to flank them or just to gun them down or something like that. Only try to fight enemies when you think that you have the upper hand, such as if you're higher ground, or if you're following them, or if you think you have better weapons than them. Those are some good times to go ahead and kill them or use strategies. A good way to effectively use strategies is to communicate with your teammates in duos or squads by having them in your party, and you can flank them. One person go from the left, one person go from the right, and the people won't know what's coming to hit them. And it's really good and effective to make sure that you can take out people one by one by one. Alright, so tip number 6 is to simply use your materials. If you're being shot at but you have a lot of steel, make sure that you have the steel out and build walls around you and your teammates, because that could be effective in determining whether you live or die. Because with the walls around you, you regroup with your teammates, you can maybe think of a plan to try to take out these opponents. And I highly recommend that you kind of make a box around your teammates and make a staircase so you can kind of peek over the walls. So let's say if they're rushing at you, you can peek over the walls and just pick them off in that little circle that you've made. Using your materials can also help you getting chests and stuff like that, try to get the advantage on your opponents, and I highly recommend using your materials when you're in the last 10 or when the circle is really, really small, because building a base is the best thing you could do in those situations. You want to try to use the best material that you can, such as bricks, or you can use stone, or just whatever you want to use. Highly recommend that if you're in those situations, build materials, try to build a castle or base, stuff like that. Okay, tip number 7 is don't always run. When you run, you actually leave a trail behind you. It's kind of like dirt trail, and people can see it from farther away distances. So I highly recommend, unless you're not getting chased or if you're chasing someone, to crouch run. If you crouch run, you cannot see that trail around you, and you can keep yourself hidden from other enemy players that can be watching you. This can also work for, let's say, if you're trying to sneak up on an enemy base. If you're running, they can hear your footsteps a lot easier. So if you crouch run, they won't be able to hear you as effectively, because a lot of people have really good headsets and they can hear a lot around them. So if you crouch walk or something like that, they won't be able to hear you that much, and it can be really effective for sneaking on other enemy players. Alright, so the last tip I have for you guys is to always choose health over weapons. It's going to be a lot more beneficial to you than having 5 weapons and no med kits to 3 weapons and 2 med kits and maybe even bandages and stuff like that. Always choose health over weapons, because bandages and med kits can save your life and save your teammates' lives a lot better than any gun can ever do. I used to make this same mistake. I'd always choose weapons over med kits and stuff like that, and I'd die a lot easier. But ever since I've been switching up my strategy and always trying to get med kits and bandages, I've been staying alive a lot longer, because it doesn't really take a long time to heal or to bandage up you or your teammates. So always choose bandages and slurp juice and stuff like that over any weapon, unless you absolutely don't even have a weapon at all. Alright, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up button.
Oops. Yo, YouTube. Okay, I'm almost here. I'm doing pretty good. I mean, what? I'm in the top 30 now. So there's a damaged house. So we're very close. No. Wait a sec, YouTube, I'm just going to shut down.